Welcome to Pepper Shock Media's Marketing Expedition podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in marketing and advertising. Now here's your host, Rhea Allen.
Welcome to the Marketing Expedition podcast. I'm Rhea Allen, your host, and today I have with me Stacy Ennis, author, keynote speaker, trainer, and just a wonderful friend to me as well, as she helps me write my book. Stacy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Rhea.
And let's tell our audience listeners all about you. Tell me, what is it you do and how you help people?
Wow. Well, I am an author, as you mentioned in your intro, and also train people on writing their books. So I help people who want to write books either through coaching them or through actually ghostwriting books for them. And I also do work around women in leadership and inclusion, and it's an area I'm really, really passionate about.
So tell me more. What kind of things have you been able to do in that realm of training?
Well, lots of things. One that I'm really proud of is a company called Next Level Women Leaders. So I have two companies. That's one of them. I co-founded it with three colleagues who I deeply admire. And we do a 2-day women's leadership training that helps women really show up as women in leadership, help them clarify who they are on the inside and then show up in alignment on the outside. So we do that through values, vision. I train on core message, which makes sense because of my words connection. Mm-hmm. We also do public speaking and style, which is kind of an interesting one. A lot of women's conferences don't talk about wardrobe, but we decided that it was actually a really important topic for women, and we don't have a lot of examples of what it looks like to be a leader. So it's actually a really powerful session in our training.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's fun.
And you, along the lines of speaking, you've actually done a TEDx talk before.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, my TEDx talk is on how to raise brave kids, and it was actually it was birthed out of birth. Having my two kids. I have a daughter named Lily who's 6. At the time, gosh, I think she was 4 when I did my TEDx talk, and I have a son who now is 4 years old. So I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I just became really curious about courage and bravery and what it meant to, number one, to be brave myself, and what kind of a person did I want to be in the world. As a not naturally brave person, I wanted to cultivate that. And then I also wanted to teach it to my daughter. And then when my son was born, I wanted to teach it to him. But I found that I actually didn't really know what that meant for men. And I wanted to learn about that. So my TEDx talk is more out of curiosity and research. I love reading research. And so when I get overwhelmed or I have some questions, I actually go find a bunch of scientists and just read everything they've done. And sometimes it makes me feel calmer. I feel like I have some answers. I can start to piece together some patterns of what I should do in my own life. And that's what happened. I started reading a bunch of research on parenting and bravery and came out with some principles that could help parents who want to raise brave kids too.
And obviously you've set a good foundation for your daughter, because didn't you tell me she wants to be a scientist as well?
She does want to be a scientist, which is interesting because I'm not geared. I love science, but I'm not geared toward being a scientist, I don't think. But I think she is. She wants to be a scientist, and she loves like all the things that used to gross me out when I was her age. So it'll be fun to see where she goes with that. Yeah.
You know, it's always fun to see how kids turn out.
Yeah, it is.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit more about the book that you've recently, within the last year or so. Has it been about a year?
It's been almost exactly a year,
wow,
actually.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Happy
thank you.
Bookversary.
Yeah.
I don't know, anniversary for your book.
Thank you.
But okay, so share with our audience what it is and the wildly successful story that you have with this book.
So Ron Price, I believe, has been a guest on your podcast before. He is a colleague and a dear friend. And we wrote a book together called Growing Influence. It's a book that I am really deeply proud of, and I know Ron is too. Mm-hmm. It's a business book, but it's taught through story. So we have a story about a woman named Emily. She is a 30-year-old working in technology. She has a son and a husband, and she's just kind of navigating what it means to be a woman in technology, to be a woman in leadership, But she's also kind of resistant to some of the facts around her, which is that she's not being promoted because she's a woman. It's very clear from her situation that she is the right fit for the promotions that have come up, but she's getting passed over. But she doesn't really want to accept that at first. And when she finally does, then she feels a little hopeless. She's not really sure how to progress. Like, with this information, what do I do with that? So the book is her journey and learning about, how do I have influence where I'm at right here in this moment? How do I become more influential? And she learns actually that starts on the inside. And she has this really beautiful relationship with a mentor named David. And together, their conversations really lead her to an answer, which you have to read the book to uncover.
For sure. I love it. And the book itself, so our audience, they're marketing professionals, they're CEOs, they're entrepreneurs, they're people that potentially have a book inside of them too. And from a marketing perspective, how has this book elevated you and your career and your aspirations and inspirations moving forward?
Yeah, well, so I work with a lot of people like that. So a lot of CEOs, a lot of people who are looking to have a bigger impact, a broader impact than they've had in the past. But certainly a lot of people in high leadership levels. And for them, what I find, so I'll talk about myself in a second, but for them, what I find is that a book does a few things. One thing it does is it helps them to focus and clarify their ideas. People who are in high levels of leadership or are running a business or are responsible for a team, they're really busy. They don't often take time to just be quiet with their thoughts and to do the hard work of thinking through their ideas and then coming up with a way to share them that makes sense to other people. And so I think that's what's really powerful in one way about a book, is that clarity of thought. The other thing that I think a book can do for somebody who's in that group of people that you mentioned is it allows them to transition from success to influence. A lot of the people I work with, they have reached a height of success within their industries or within their companies, and they maybe aren't necessarily wanting to go somewhere else to work or to change what they're doing, but they do want to have a broader impact. They do want to reach more people.
And influence in other ways, yeah.
Exactly. They feel that there's something inside of them that they can have a bigger impact than they're having, and they're not really sure how to do that. And so a book can be one way for them to begin to take those steps toward getting those ideas out, becoming known as a thought leader, or being invited as a speaker, or becoming better known in their industry, whatever their goal is.
Well, and like for me, I know that by going through this process with you, it really validated my idea, and, you know, having somebody else who is an author and has been through this process, like share with me that you thought, yeah, this is something, let's do this, you know? And I think other people might have that same feeling too from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anybody who coaches around this area, if they're good at what they do, they should be able to listen well. If they're always agreeing with you, that's not necessarily a great thing. They should be able to validate or challenge your idea and make you maybe consider things a different way or think through things a different way. But I do
restructure or, you know, omit or add to it or
Yeah. And I think for somebody like you and the people listening, just hearing that I should write a book, you know, like, I'm the person to write this book. I think hearing somebody say that you trust, I think is really important too.
Absolutely it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. And I did want to answer your question specifically about growing influence. Ron's in my latest book. It's been really neat because I've worked on a ton of books over the past decade, including my first book, which came out in 2013. It's called The Editor's Eye. And this was a really special experience for me because normally I am not getting to experience the benefits of the book. I'm often helping other people who are getting to experience the benefits of the book.
I love that you get the benefit of this too. I think it's awesome.
It's so fun. Well, number one, to get to work with Ron has been a treat, but we have just had some really exciting success, some measurable success.
It's in the airport. I see pictures of people taking a picture of your book in the airport, like pointing at it and posting it. I love that.
It's so cool. And one of the things, like, that people forget about books is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. So as you get your book out into the world, it can feel like it takes some time for those things to happen. This has been a year and it's just making it into the airport, right? So sometimes it's that longevity of really staying with the message and continuing to promote it and get it out there that makes the impact. We've also hit #1 on bestseller on Amazon in multiple big categories, business and leadership. We were above Brene Brown. We were #2 next to The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, above Simon Sinek. So it was really exciting. It doesn't seem like it should feel, that it's a big deal. It's not like, monumental, but it was for me to see that. It was so cool. These people that I admire, and I had took some screenshots.
I'm so proud
it
of
was
you
so
for that.
neat.
It's so cool. I'm just like, I think, wow, we have a celebrity in the studio today.
It was really
awesome.
fun, and to get to share it with Ron too.
One of my favorite mentors too.
He's
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and I've seen other people get to experience that, and it is really exciting when I get to watch somebody who, I know what goes into a book. It's not a 6-month project. It's a 2-year project. The writing of it is not 2 years, but the scope of it, from idea to publication and marketing and all, it's 2 years, Yeah. And so when I've been part of that and I see the result, and I get to hear about them opening that box, the first box that comes with their first copy, and holding it, and
I can't wait.
Feeling the cover. And I know it's just a really neat,
cool
experience. Yeah.
So, and you're kind of scaling your abilities now. You're looking at, you're doing some group writing exercises. You're launching your platform on how to write a book. And tell me more about what your future goals are here.
Yeah, so I have an online course right now called Finish That Book, and it's a writing, planning, and productivity course.
I love that. Finish that book.
Yeah, it's at StacyEnnisLearn.com. It's a small course. I designed it for busy people who just needed to know how to get a book done. That's the whole course, is like, okay, here's how you calendar it out, and here's how you create time for this, and here's how you create accountability. And it's my process that I use to write 2 to 2.5 books a year. So there's that. And then it's been really exciting to get invited to lots of different industry conferences to teach book writing, sometimes to groups like accountants, that you wouldn't think would be excited about books, but they are so creative and on fire for the ideas that they have. I mean, it's just it's so neat.
For our accounting friends, Did you hear that? Stacy said that you were creative. I love it.
Well, I just think everybody has ideas inside of them, and, it's just accessing those and learning kind of a framework for book ideation. That's what I teach.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love ideation too. In fact, it's my #2 strength. My #1 strength is command, not demand, I tell people. But yeah, ideation is I mean, it's really, it's been a great experience for me to finally, work on my book too, because, I have somebody helping me do this, and the accountability factor is huge too. And like you said, busy business people, how do you get it done? And so, yeah, it's been helpful to have that. Okay, so Growing Influence is going now. What's your next book?
Oh, well, I have a few ideas that I'm working through. I'm struggling between, do I want to write a more narrative book, which is what I'm excited about? Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm excited about both, but I love personal narrative. I love essay style writing, storytelling. So I'm kind of thinking about a book along those lines, and I have that all, kind of down on what I'd like to write that about. And then I have another book that I've considered writing on location independence and kind of what that is like, and how do you do that? Because our family has chosen to take a very different path and kind of live a very different life than...
Right, you live in Portugal.
Yeah, we live in Portugal. My husband's a stay-at-home dad. We lived in Thailand last year. Portugal's our 4th country outside of the U.S.
I love that your husband's a stay-at-home dad, by the way. I think that's amazing. Yeah,
he's a rock star stay-at-home dad, too. He's way better than I would be as a stay-at-home mom.
I love it.
So I don't know.
Recognizing other people's strengths, that's a good thing. Yes, for sure.
And then, of course, there's always the question of, do we write a sequel to Growing Influence?
Right.
Which I'm also excited about that
there's
idea.
Like some potential there
so
for
there's
sure.
lots of I am writing a book right now, but it's for a client, so it's a ghostwriting project. Right. I'm always writing a book.
Of course you're writing
all the
a book
time.
always.
Yes. I mean, truly, it's rare that I get more than like 2 or 3 weeks kind of between writing projects, but I think it keeps me really fresh. So
there you go.
I like that I get a little break, but I don't lose my momentum. So
awesome. Okay, so tell me more about the workshops and the things that people can do to engage with you and the trainings that you do, because you have kind of a vast variety of things that you offer and how you help people, so I want to learn more. Give me some examples of some things that you're going to do in the future.
Yeah, so I do a lot of different types of trainings, but the connection to all of them is language. Language is a through line of everything that I do. So I do trainings on book writing. Really, those are workshops, not trainings.
Right.
Where people come, it's usually at a conference, and I walk them through ideation, or I teach them some step of the book writing process, whatever that particular conference needs from me. I got to do that at this really amazing summer camp this year.
Awesome.
Intuit flew in all of these accountants from all over the country. They paid their way there. They paid all their expenses. We went kayaking and whitewater rafting. It was amazing, and I got to teach book writing, and it was such a great experience. So sometimes I do it in little groups like that, where a company is trying to expose their people to something new and different,
right?
And people love it because it's like, oh, book writing. Well, that's interesting,
Right.
And sometimes it's at a conference with a few hundred people. I also, as I mentioned, do trainings through Next Level Women Leaders. We do those public trainings and also in companies. And then I do inclusion training. So I come in, I talk about women in leadership. I talk about diversity and inclusion. I get to sometimes be the only voice at the table that's advocating for inclusion, or that's supporting a team that's advocating for inclusion at a company. So that's a really important piece to what I do that's a little bit different than books, but it's also our Growing Influence talks about a woman in leadership who's facing discrimination. So
no, that's great. Okay, so from a marketing perspective, how do books help you build your personal brand?
Oh, yes. Well, we talked a bit about people who are looking to expand their influence. They've reached a level of success and they're looking to expand their influence. A book is a really important part of that expansion, of reaching more people, of growing platform, partially because it's kind of an entry ticket to a lot of things. A book is your entry ticket to being seen as an expert a lot of the time. It's an entry ticket to be invited to keynote. Not always, but it does open some doors. It gets you invited to podcasts and different types of interviews, or to be interviewed as a subject matter expert. It gives you confidence when you go to speak on a certain topic because you've written a book about it. So there's that piece to it. The other piece that, if it's executed well, a book can do for you is that through the launch of a book and the coverage that you get, usually working with a PR person,
right,
you can have such amazing reach. For me personally, when my first book came out in 2013, I am still, even though I have gone through some evolutions of my business, I'm not even doing what I was doing when I wrote that book. It was on book editing. I don't do that anymore.
Right. From an eye of an editor? No.
The editor's eye.
The editor's eye. Sorry. Yeah. Got it. Editor's eye.
Yeah. So that book came out in 2013, and I got some good press coverage around it. And there was this viral article, as viral as you can go in the publishing industry. Yeah. And even today, I'm still in top usually 3 to 5 in Google, depending on the search term around writing.
Yeah.
And even if somebody searches editing and it leads them to me, they might join my list, or they might start following me. And so there is that impact. It's a lot longer than a lot of marketing that you do. It really can stick with you. And
it's the long game as opposed to a short game, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good. I'm looking forward to how the book that I get to do with you is going to impact in many different ways. And like you said, all of those opportunities that are kind of coming together because of it, I think will be awesome.
I am really confident that your book will. And I wonder if you would let me turn around a question to you.
Oh, sure.
Okay, because I'm usually the person interviewing.
Right?
So I was wondering if you would be willing to share with listeners a bit about your experience, because I think a lot of people wonder about that whole process and what it's like to embark on such a big project.
Right. Yeah. Especially being such a busy business person and having,
In demand.
kids and yes.
I mean, I've tried to
all
get
of
on
the-
your calendar.
I know. It's insane.
It is challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, like I mentioned too, the validation component to it, because I really wanted somebody who has gone through the process before and who, I felt was an expert in their field that would tell me that, yes, the idea you have is solid. And yes, you might need to change a few things here and redo the structure here, or, maybe omit this or add this to it. All of that's been really helpful because it's a second opinion that is not my own. And it's, I want to listen to you because I feel like I can trust you and that you're going to tell me what's good and what's not. And whereas everybody else may just tell me what they think that I want to hear. And I don't want that. I want to know truthfully what it is that I need to hear so that I can make it better and make it the best that I can do, So that's been really helpful. And plus the accountability factor has been really helpful. I wish I could spend even more time on it. It's been a process to make sure that I can set aside time. And what I've found is that I just have to schedule time away and then do more. So when I went to the Oregon coast, it was all about Rheas putting her book outline together, and you people leave her alone.
Yeah.
Right. And talking to you through that, and then just giving me all the steps that I needed to take so it didn't feel so overwhelming at first. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm going to write a book, but then it's another thing is like, oh, I'm going to write a book. Now, how am I going to get that done? And so that's been very helpful. You've given me, the tools and the guidance and, just the feedback alone. Feedback is a gift, like Ron will say, And so I think that's been really, really helpful to me to make that happen. And it's in progress. So I guess we'll kind of see how it all turns out when we get it done.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're learning about yourself and when you're most productive. I think it's different with book writing than it is maybe in your normal workday, because this is a new thing you're adding on top of all that you're already doing.
Yeah.
So you're finding when you go away and you have this focused time, you can get a lot done. That's true for a lot of busy people. It's also really helpful to cultivate a daily habit as much as you can, even if it's 15 minutes. Even if you're just thinking about your book or you're jotting down ideas about your book. And some people find that they go on a retreat and they can't write a word. So it's really, I think it's good that you're so in touch with what works for you.
Well, and I think I've done some voice memos, and we found a free tool that will transcribe my voice, at least free to a certain extent, right? You can always add on to it, but it's Otter.IA, so OTTER.IA, that will transcribe. And it's not perfect. It's like 80% perfect, right? As far as like what the words are that say, like, when I say pepper shock, we're pepper chalk. Or, Ray is obviously not spelled correctly because, my spelling is different. But you can at least go through that. And so when I am thinking about it and I do voice memos, because I'm a storyteller, and for me to sit down and type at a computer, sometimes I just I just don't have the energy or effort or time to sit down in front of the computer and type, but I can do the voice memo thing, no problem. And I could talk all day long. So
yeah,
that's been helpful too, to transcribe what I had to say and then, clean it all up and then put it in. And I know that other people, may be able to just sit in front of the computer and type, but that's not for a busy business person, I just haven't been able to do that. But the voice memos have been great.
Right. Well, that's something that a lot of people in your type of position do, because they find that it is really easy for them to access their creativity when they're speaking, because they're doing that all the time. When it is time to sit down and write at a computer, they struggle a bit more with that. And I also utilize transcripts for a ton of different projects. I pay thousands in transcription fees every year because I find that it's so much more efficient for a lot of the people I work with to be able to just talk through something and then pull the content out from that. Although yours is free and I'm paying for mine.
Yeah, it's 600 minutes a month for free, and then
Nice.
you can upgrade and pay a monthly subscription. We just kind of came across this tool because we're also doing, for us, we do video, and in the videos, people want subtitles more and more now because people aren't listening to the videos. And so like when we're doing your book trailer or your speaker reel, we'll want to transcribe it and put that in there. And so it's nice to take a listen to it and then be able to put it on there. But it's not perfect. I mean, you pay because you want, perfection, but it's also at the same time you kind of go back and just finagle and fix it and do. But they're coming out with more new tools all the time. So yeah, look up Otter.IA or AI, artificial intelligence, OTTER.AI.
That sounds like a
They
great
should pay me and
resource.
endorse me,
Yeah.
I think.
They are not sponsors of this episode.
That's right. That's right. They're not sponsors. I think there's another one called Timmy. Timmy is another one that other people have used before. Anyway, there's lots of different options, but yeah, it's been a process so far. I mean, I'm going through it. I'm happy that I'm doing it finally. I've been saying for years that I need to write a book. I have a book inside of me, and actually, what we uncovered is I have several.
You do.
That's what you told me.
You got a library inside of you.
I do. I have quite a bit of content and experiences, and after you've been in business for 16 years, you kind of come up with a lot of different things that you can write about. So there will be more than one book. But yeah, so thank you, Stacy, for just trusting me and doing business with us here at Pepper Shock, and vice versa. Thank you for helping me through my journey, my process too. It's a nice win-win for both of us in this regard. But
I agree. I was thinking about that on my way over here to talk with you, that it's really nice to have such creative, talented friends that we can work together and help each other accomplish great things.
Yeah, I love it. Well, and the book writing process and the video making process kind of similar, right? It's all about storytelling, and I love that too. So, well, thank you very much. And we can go to stacyennis.com, right? And fill out a form, and your people will get in touch with whoever wants to get in touch with you, if it makes sense, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you for having me, Rhea. This has been such a pleasure.
Yay. All right. Thanks, Stacy. And thank you for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Be sure to subscribe. And there's also a Facebook group, Marketing Expedition members. You can ask to join the group. Right now, it's free to join. So get in while you can. All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Expedition podcast. Find more online at peppershock.com.